and I cheated. I never let jealousy happen to me, cause I always keep winning and winning. Ain't nobody I'd rather be. If I say that I'ma do it to the fullest. I'm not out here playing games, I be trying to keep it moving. I got money on my mind and I know I'm getting to it. And they tell me I'm the one, yeah, but I already knew it. Putting that weight all on my shoulders, all of my day ones move like soldiers. Everyone play their role, I'm coaching. Getting these rings, I feel like Jordan. I've been up late night, early mornings, putting in work while they be snoring. Get the reward, I spend like tokens. Feeding my fam, that's most important, yeah. I got the money and I got respect. I don't need nothing, I'm good where I'm at. I seen the motive of people I met. My circle is small, I keep it like that. I don't let haters get me out of line, cause their life is never comparing to mine. I've been too busy exploring the world, cause nothing worth more than my time. And I never ran out of ammo. Killing these beats, I feel like Rainbow. Keeping my moves on the down low, cause they wanna be me, but they can't though. They been trying to sink my ship Titanic, but I just keep coming back automatic. I don't have time to ever go panic. Keep going strong till my problems vanish. I've been doing the most, 100% I be keeping control. I made the beat and I added the flow. Nobody do it like this anymore. All of my grudges, I'm letting them go. I had to let all the hate out my soul. I'm only focused on building my legacy. Everything go how it meant to be, let it unfold. If I say that I'ma do it to the fullest. I'm not out here playing games, I be trying to keep it moving. I got money on my mind and I know I'm getting to it. And they tell me I'm the one, yeah, but I already knew it. Talk a lot when they never got something good that they say. I just leveled up and I never stop for nobody that's in my way. They been watching me and they trying to say that my plays have all been fake. I just came back from that Euro trip, I've been living out a suitcase. I got real problems that I deal with. I seen adults acting like children. I got no time to go back and forth with people caught in their feelings. I've been focused on myself, I've been focused on my health. I've been making moves I don't advertise, cause I know the time will tell. Yeah, I know how it goes, I know how it goes down. Everybody knows now. Moving on my own, moving on the low now. I don't need no help, I don't need no handouts. Look out, see me, my life, movie. I be low-key, don't lie to me. Always on top, no way I stop. All day I play, got it my way. Lately my mind has been racing, trying to avoid all the fake shit. People be coming from all different angles, I gotta just stay in the basement. Keeping my head down, putting work in, now my life is amazing. I'm never gonna settle for less than I wanted, I know that I can't get complacent. People be talking about me, but they never met me, man, that shit is so crazy. I don't need nobody trying to take credit for everything I'm doing lately. Know that I heard about it, but I'm living it now. Guess that I gotta just let it go now. I'll never slow down, I'm making the younger me proud, ayy. I know how it goes, I know how it goes down. Everybody knows now. Moving on my own, moving on the low now. I don't need no help, I don't need no handouts. Look out, see me, my life, movie. I be low-key, don't lie to me. Always on top, no way I stop. All day I play, got it my way. Yeah, hey. When it come down to it and you send it through, I'ma hit you back like nah, nah, nah. When you slept on me, now you ask for the handout, I'ma hit you back like nah, nah, nah. When you talk about business, you ain't talking about millions, I'ma hit you back like nah, nah, nah. When you wanna be a part of my life, tryna stay the night, I'ma hit you back like nah, nah, nah. Got a new spot, living like a vacation, feeling good, I don't need any validation. All my debt been paid in, and when the boat starts sinking, I'ma save it. Pulling everybody up, keeping all the money tucked. Talk to my pops and he told me that I'm proud of you, but I'm not done yet, not until his sunset. Putting everything on my back like the ground wet. I don't wanna talk if you ain't tryna listen. I don't need 2 cents, I'ma need 1,000,000. Started from the bottom and I haven't hit my ceiling. I don't want a room, I be tryna buy the whole damn building. What up? When it come down to it and you send it through, I'ma hit you back like nah, nah, nah. When you slept on me, now you ask for the handout, I'ma hit you back like nah, nah, nah. When you talk about business, you ain't talking about millions, I'ma hit you back like nah, nah, nah. When you wanna be a part of my life, tryna stay the night, I'ma hit hit you back like nah, nah, nah. Forgive me for my honesty, I'm unapologetic. Could've signed a deal, but I'd rather have the leverage. Tell me what to do, but I never got the message. The game needs saving, I be feeling like the medic. Gotta start move around with an NDA. Everybody safe in my bubble like the NBA. Paying off the refs when they tryna play. I don't need the cheat codes, I'ma find a way. I be moving like a king, like LeBron with the ring. You ain't seen what I seen, how you tell me what to be. In Miami, I'm surrounded by some models. I done put in my time, now I get to live how I want it, come on. When it come down to it and you send it through, I'ma hit you back like nah, nah, nah. When you slept on me, now you ask for the handout, I'ma hit you back like nah, nah, nah. When you talk about business, you ain't talking about millions, I'ma hit you back like nah, nah, nah. When you wanna be a part of my life, tryna stay the night, I'ma hit you back like nah, nah, nah. You left me in the past life, telling me to go now. I've been waiting all night, but you never show now. 100 on the dashboard, I won't ever slow down. Cause you left me so broken, I can't even cope now. You told me that you never break my heart, and you did that. You ain't give me time, could've fixed that. I said that I would never want you back, but I relapse every time I see you with a new man. Cause ain't nobody doing what I did for you. I promised I would never get to live for you. I would keep you by my side through the hard times, but we've been growing apart, now you not mine. I wonder what you've been doing daily. I'm thinking about the memories you gave me, but I can't keep going alone in the morning. I think how you left me in the past life, telling me to go now. I've been waiting all night, but you never show now. 100 on the dashboard, I won't ever slow down. Cause you left me so broken, I still see your face in the past life, telling me to go now. I've been waiting all night, but you never show now. 100 on the dashboard, I won't ever slow down. Cause you left me so broken, I can't even cope now. I should've known better than letting you in my life. Guess I gotta say it for the last time. I try to elevate what you got going on, cause I know what they got on the other side. Nothing that could ever compare to me. I be moving in another pedigree. Never gonna forget what you said to me, but here we are apart, it ain't meant to be. I wonder what you've been doing daily. I'm thinking about the memories you gave me, but I can't keep going alone in the morning. I think how you left me in the past life, telling me to go now. I've been waiting all night, but you never show now. 100 on the dashboard, I won't ever slow down. Cause you left me so broken, I still see your face in the past life, telling me to go now. I've been waiting all night, but you never show now. 100 on the dashboard, I won't ever slow down. Cause you left me so broken, I can't even cope now. Hey, I'm about to go level up, I cannot settle for nothing, I never been regular, always knew I could do better. I finally made it this far and I'm not looking back. They didn't see all the time that I put in, now me and the money are way too attached. Still reppin' 919, the city is mine and I put it all on the map. Coming for what I deserve, I put in
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody, and welcome to the first Friday, the first stream, the first tea with a hacker. Happy Friday, happy New Year's, happy 2025. Oh my gosh, what an amazing year it has been. I hope everybody's had a great day. I hope everybody's having a great 3 days as we're 3 days into 2025. I apologize in advance to my YouTube folks. There was a tiny little bit of an issue where we had a false start with the stream this morning. So hopefully the YouTube folks find their way back over to the stream from the false start there. But happy to see everybody streaming live across Twitch, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Happy to see everybody. Cheers. Excited to be here this morning. Excited to be streaming. I wanted to kick off 2025 right. I wanted to see you guys the first Friday. Had some awesome vacation. Thanks to everybody. Thanks to everybody who chimed in on my my Instagram reels from last week. If you know, I was in Miami, deep down in the South Beach of Miami, hanging out down there, having a good old time, good vacation. People found it really odd, right? People found it really odd that I didn't pay attention to anything. I didn't pay attention to the stock market. I didn't pay attention to the crypto markets. I didn't pay attention to the news. I was completely and totally disconnected as I hung out down there. Now I say that I was disconnected. I have a notebook here, and I've written a ton of notes, some of which I'm going to talk about, a little bit this morning because some of them pertain to the stream and stuff like that. So that's kind of like how I disconnect a little bit, right? As I go back to old-fashioned pen and paper, and I just get the thoughts out of my head on the paper. Vacations work weird to me because I don't when it comes to vacations, I really spend a lot of my time getting out of that fight or flight mode that I feel like I'm in and year out. When it comes to why can't I get the ideas out of my head onto paper? How do I make actionable plans and things like that? And that's going to lead into part of what I want us to talk about on this Friday. I think it's super important for us to start 2025 right. And so today we're going to talk a little bit about goal planning. And so we'll talk a little bit about goal planning. If now's an opportune time, bring up your favorite text editor, go get you some old-fashioned pen and paper, whatever you want. Go ahead and hit that exclamation point Discord in chat and get over to Discord because you'll want to be in Discord for goal planning as well. But with that being said, welcome to Friday. This is our Tea with a Hacker, our Friday morning AMA stream or Ask Me Anything. We do this on Friday morning because we love to talk to folks from all across the globe. We get a maximum ability to hit people. I was looking over on LinkedIn. We got folks from Kenya, India, South Africa, all over the place over on LinkedIn. I know we got Fix It 42 hanging out in Twitch. She's over there from Sweden, I think it is. We've spent some time with Fix It. She's pretty awesome. Sophie, it's good to see you as well. Drop it in chat where you're tuning in from, and we are super happy that you're here. But we do this one in the morning, because we love to talk to everybody from across the globe. We want to give you an opportunity to see me, talk to me, and ask those questions in real time. So with that being said, we really only got about 2 rules for the most part. The one is the most important one out there. No toxicity. What does that mean? No racist, sexist, misogynistic, elitist, or otherwise toxic behavior in chat. 0 whatsoever. We don't tolerate it at all. We're a very welcoming community. We want everybody to feel, welcome and being able to ask their questions on whatever scale they are, whether it's red team, blue team, risk and governance, whether it's beginner or advanced, something about threat intelligence, something about strategy, whatever the case is. Any of that stuff, we want you guys to be able to ask freely without being fear of judgment. So this is a safe space. I mean, the only really thing you got to worry about is cynicism coming from BeardSec or myself, but we say that out of love. I had the most awesomest comment on one of my LinkedIn posts from somebody. I want to see if I can find it really quick because it truly was one of those I don't know whether to feel insulted or complimented. I did feel insulted. It was really, really good, but it was such an awesome comment. If I can find it super fast. I know who made the comment. I forgot to pull it up in pre-stream so I could get it. God, where is it? See, look, I rabbit holed already this morning. There it is from Aurora. Aurora is super awesome. Somebody made a post. I guess there was a lot of drama over this whole influencers conversation. We could talk about that if you guys really want me to opine upon that. But she gave me this really awesome compliment that was super weird, right? Neil Bridges cares enough to stream where the youths are, Twitch, constantly talking people out of degrees and certs, got that gruff dad voice that sounds kind of angry, but he's just looking out for you. I promise you, I'm not 100% sure if I sound like I'm a gruff dad voice, but I am just looking out for you. And so I really, really do thank Aurora for that comment. It was super nice. With that being said, that's exactly what we try to do here, right? We want to provide you with a nice, safe, but we're going to be direct. We're going to be true. We're going to tell you how it is. I've got 20 years in this industry, done everything that you can almost imagine. And I just want to dump everything that's inside of this head out onto the internet for you all to be able to take advantage of. And so ask those questions at any point in time. We absolutely love to talk to folks. We got Andrew over from Florida. Man, we just missed you in Florida. I'll have to let you know when I come back down. We'll do in-person meetups. Second rule is we do have moderators in chat. Huge shout out to my moderators. My moderators are amazing, and they are taking their time out of their day this morning to come and make sure that chat across the platforms is free and supportive and giving you the information that you need. So give a huge round of applause in chat wherever you are for our moderators keeping cyber insecurity safe across the board. With that being said, I do got some things that we are going to talk about today. We'll let some of the crowds come in. We know we usually peak here, in probably about 30-ish or so minutes. So we'll let some of the crowds come in a little bit more. I do want to do some goal planning. I want to talk about goal planning. I do this every year. It's super important for us to talk about goal planning. And so I'm going to talk to you about how to do goal planning. I'm going to talk to you about how we can all maintain accountability for each other when it comes to goal planning. So that's why I told you to go ahead and get you your favorite notepad application or, get you some old fashioned pen and paper. We will talk about that. I do want to talk about some stream updates. Where we're coming to you from a content perspective. I do have some notes that I made to myself and some things that I want to talk to you about that, as well as some upcoming shows and some upcoming appearances. With that, I'm gonna pop on over to LinkedIn. Looked like we got an interesting question from Abdullah over on LinkedIn. It says, how can you monetize cybersecurity? The best and easiest way? Get a job, honestly. Listen, make no mistake about it, right? There's tons of money in cybersecurity all day, every day. It has made some of us who have been here for a while super cynical, right? I say that in all honesty, right? I mean, a lot of the reason we're super cynical in this space is because there's more money in cyber than you can believe, right? Think about it from a regulatory perspective. Most regulatory bodies say, thou shalt do X, right? Thou shalt do Y, right? Well, when somebody says thou shalt do, most people go out there and feel the unnecessary obligation to do whatever it takes to get to that level. And oftentimes that includes spending some money. Now, that money can come in a lot of different forms. It can usually come in product or services. And that's really the two primary ways that monetization happens in cybersecurity. Either somebody makes a product and convinces people to sell it, or you offer services and you provide those services to folks. Now, what's right and what's wrong? There's neither right or wrong. The industry needs both. Make no mistake about it. Make no mistake about it. We need products in cybersecurity. That's why if you tuned in a couple weeks ago, if you haven't already, go watch the replay. We talked about why cybersecurity products suck. It's because you have to have products. You cannot do everything on your own. It is technologically impossible for you to protect an enterprise without products. So therefore, you have to buy products. You have to buy certain products. You have to do them in a strategic fashion. And so you have to make a decision. And again, back to our regulatory conversation, if you're mandated by regulatory requirements, PCI DSS, the payment card industry, we've talked about this before, mandates that thou shalt have endpoint protection products on your endpoints that are controlling PCI data. So therefore, the PCI DSS has just said that for you to be accredited to be authorized to store, transmit, or process payment card information, thou must have endpoint protection products. And so now you got CrowdStrike and Microsoft doing that meme from behind the tree being like, oh yeah, PCI DSS said thou must have, come over here and buy some of our stuff, right? And that's how products make money, right? They will audit you for it. Absolutely, Hyperwork. They will come after you and they will fine you and they'll take your certification away and it will be a whole thing, right? It'll be a whole thing. And so regulatory requirements is one of the primary drivers for strategic education. Then there's services. Now, services is a weird business, right? Services is a weird business because you, as a human, only have so many waking hours in a day or a month with which you can perform a service. And you're the only one that can perform a service. Even if you have 3 of you, that's still only 3 humans that can perform services. And so you are limited to the time in a month that you can work. And let's say that you want to have a work-life balance. You only want to work 40 hours a week. That's 160 hours a month. That means that you can only realistically expect to provide yourself as a service for 160 hours a month. Then that boils down to how do you monetize those hours? Well, gosh, if I'm only going to work 160 hours a month, then I've got to charge $500 an hour to maintain the standard of living. Good luck convincing, and I love talking to new people about this, because new people are like, oh, I can't get a job. I'm just going to start a consulting company. Good luck convincing a company that you, Mr. and Mrs. Cybersecurity person who has 0 experience and is running your own consultancy company is worth $500 an hour. I can tell you that I would walk into Fortune 100 companies who had billions of dollars as a PwC consultant, and they would fight us tooth and nail over $350 an hour from a blended rate perspective. So you're not going to convince Joe Schmo mom and pop shop that you're worth $500 an hour for a consultancy. And so you got to be realistic when it comes to offering your personal time to companies as a consultancy, especially if you're trying to do this new thing where you're like, oh, I can't get a job, therefore I'm just going to randomly go out there and offer myself as a cyber consultancy. I hate to be the bearer of bad news. I actually don't hate to be the bearer of bad news, but this is one of those times where the gruff or dark night voice, as Andrew put it over in LinkedIn, comes out. You're going to fail if you're trying to say, well, my first job in cybersecurity is going to be my very own cyber consulting company. It just doesn't work like that. You're not going to get paid. Or if you're going to get paid, it'll be below minimum wage. And so if you're truly looking for the easiest way to monetize yourself in cyber, go do bug bounty, go get on Fervor, go do some of these. So I don't know if the exclamation point gig command is working in Twitch chat or not. I've talked about this a little bit. There are certain companies that, so if you think about gig work, right? If you think about Uber, Lyft, DoorDash, right? If you've got those in your region, that's what we refer to in the United States as gig work, right? Meaning like, hey, I can go get in my car, I can download the Uber app, and I can start like offering rides in my car on Uber. Sounds like a cool deal, right? A little bit of gig stuff on the side. Well, in the realm of gig work, I would say at the very, very bottom tier, because you know Neil likes his levels of hackers, right? So when we talk about 3 levels, right? I'd say level 1 of gig work is bug bounty, right? Go to HackerOne, go to BugCrowd, sign up for those. That's your level 1. You may not make a lot, but at least you'll get some experience. The next layer above that to gig work would be like Fiverr, Fiverr. Somebody keep me honest on the pronunciation on it. Like Fiverr, Upwork, right? Things like that. You may be able to find some cybersecurity work doing some gig work like that. Look at those like those freelance sites, things like that. And then I would say the top tier of that gig work, there's only a handful of consultancy companies that do this, but there's 2 websites out there. And I'm gonna say them really, really slow. Maybe one of the mods can find the links and drop them. I know that they used to be in the bot for gig. The first one is from PwC, PricewaterhouseCoopers, the Big Four company. It's called Talent Exchange. The second one is from the other Big Four company called EY, Ernst & Young, and it's called Gig Now. Those two websites look exactly like Upwork or Fiverr or something like that, and you can go to those sites, set you up a profile, and you can search cyber jobs that the Big Four has that they can't insource. Sec IT guy just dropped the links into Twitch. I'll have him drop the links over on YouTube as well. Thanks, Sec IT guy. Again, claps for the mods. But jobs that they've got that are too expensive for them to insource inside of their respective companies, they actually outsource those to 1099 gig workers via these programs to do cyber work. And so this is like, if you're looking to do some of this freelance work, I can't even begin to tell you there are ways for you to do it. I was talking with a coachee of mine. For those who don't know, like I remind people, right, I do offer coaching services. You can use the exclamation point coaching in chat to get to it. It's amazing to me how few people take advantage of it, but the ones that do, I'm sure can attest that it's pretty transformative to their careers. But one of my coachees is, Neil, I've done everything. I've done this, I've done that, I applied to 200 jobs a day. I applied to 300 jobs a day. I've gone to my network and I've tried to talk to this manager and this manager and this CISO and this CISO, and I just can't get anyone to bite. And I said, this dude's got 20 plus years of experience in cyber. He's done a ton of work. He's actually worked for me as a director before. He was a director of manufacturing cyber technology. So he's worked for me. And I said, so this is one of those cases where I was like, you've got tons of experience. Have you tried to like work yourself into companies? Have you tried to like offer yourself as services? And he's like, well, yeah, of course I have. And I said, really? What hook are you using? What are you using for outreach? How are you strategizing around that? And he was like, well, I really just am sending out LinkedIn messages and asking any of my CISO friends if they need help with anything. And so, it's a way to say, the resources are out there for you to take advantage of them, but you may not necessarily understand how to drive the car, right? I can provide you with the resources, and I love providing you with the resources, but make sure that you have read the owner's manual. Make sure you've watched YouTube videos on how to do freelance work. And if you need help, reach out to somebody like myself and let's get you started in this, because it's one thing to have the resources and it's another thing to be able to execute and get it done. Okay? And so the resources are out there. I say all that to say, here are the resources that we talk about. So it's a long-winded answer to your question, Abdullah. Hopefully that worked. We talk about the easiest way to monetize. There's tons of money in cyber. I want to tell you one last story about money in cyber, just really fast, right? In 2013, I was a SANS instructor. I was looking to get out of the Air Force. Bryce Galbraith, who's a very, very well-known hacker, pen tester, he's a SANS instructor. John Strand, also, I'm sure everybody knows John Strand from Black Hills. This was early on, John Strand when he was at SANS and just really doing some early stuff out of his own basement. Eric Cole, like all the guys from SANS, like I was very, very, very close with them in the military because we were partnering with SANS, pretty extensively to bring versions of their SANS curriculum into the military. Anyway, Bryce is a good friend of mine. Eric's a good friend of mine. John's a good friend of mine, right? All these folks have been good friends of mine. And I remember getting out because I wanted to get out. When I got out, I wanted to do pen testing work. Obviously, like most of you, that was what I wanted to convert my cyber warfare operator stuff over from the military. I wanted to convert that over into pen testing work on the outside. And as I talked to Bryce and John and Dave Shackelford and folks like that, they all had their own pen testing companies. And I was at lunch with all three of them one time, and I said to them, listen, how do you guys still be friends knowing that you're all competing for pen testing work? And they all laughed simultaneously. And I was like, what? Is that a dumb question? Like, explain it to me like I'm 5. Is that a dumb question? And they were like, Neil, there is more work than you could imagine in this space. He was like, they were all three like, there is so much work. We literally pass work off to each other when we can't get it all done. I didn't believe it at the time, but I was floored by this. I'll let you know, in 2016, when I started my own company, when I started my own consultancy company, and I had folks coming to me to have me do work for them, I got to a point to where I couldn't handle the workload. And yes, I did the exact same thing. I called friends of mine. I gave them business. I said, hey, I've got this thing that's going on. Would you like this opportunity? That has happened recently. Like I won't name names, but there's a pretty well-known quote unquote influencer out there who went out to start their own business. And one of the first things I did was like, hey, listen, I've got some people that I know that are looking for some stuff. Let me get you some introductions. There is more work out there than you can realize. Don't let the job market jade you. Don't let businesses economy, jackassery, if you will, fade you. There is more cyber work out there than you could ever possibly imagine. And so with that, I'll take a sip of my tea and take a little bit of a breather and see if there's any follow-on questions on that. I might be able to fix that really quick for you, Brian. I set up my remote desktop protocol so I don't have to look over on the other screen anymore. See if that works now, Brian. There was a question over on YouTube: OSCP or OSWE for software engineer. I mean, listen, like I think let me change that differently. Like I'm not going to talk about the cert, right? And the reason is like I'm not going to opine as to whether I think that cert is good for a software engineer. But if I were to read deeper into your question, I do think it's valuable for everybody to learn all aspects of offensive security and defensive cybersecurity. I think that if you are in the cybersecurity space, from GRC to SOC analyst to pen tester to threat hunter to intel person, I do think that it is critically important for everybody to learn those skills. Right? And so when it comes to software engineering, let me kind of like give you an idea as to why I think it's important for software engineers to understand that skill. Right? If you're doing software engineering, you're writing code, you're building architectures, you're building applications. I do think it is important as part of your secure coding practices or your SDLC for you to understand how hackers look at your application so that you can code it better. Now, there's a catch-22 there, right? Because you're always going to be bound by this weird deadline fighting thing that your PMs are always going to push on you, right? But if you can learn to code software in a secure fashion from Jump Street, you will be far more valuable as a coder. And back to our regulatory conversation that we had before, some regulatory requirements require that your developers go through some form of a secure coding program. And wouldn't it be cool if you needed a way to differentiate yourself? If you needed a way to differentiate yourself to be able to build a secure coding curriculum. Look at there. Now we've got content. It is an amazing opportunity for you to build something and get some content out of it. So I'm not going to opine upon those specific certs. I don't think that those specific certs are exclusive to software engineering. But if you're asking fundamentally, John Doe over on YouTube, if software engineering would benefit from offensive security content, absolutely, 1,000%. Well, that sucks. I'll ask that one from YouTube, and then we'll switch over to Twitch. Knock over on YouTube says, is a degree in computer engineering needed to get into hacking embedded systems or hardware hacking? I mean, listen, like, you use the word needed. I don't think anything's needed. I don't think anything in cyber is needed. I don't think any degree is needed for any aspect. I harp on this a lot. There is so much free knowledge out there. There is so much free knowledge out there. So much free knowledge. Like, I'm giving it away here. There are, like, this whole influencer conversation that happened on Reddit is because there's tons of knowledge that's out there on YouTube that people are giving away for free because they're trying to become cyber influencers. They're trying to become YouTubers. They're trying to become, you know, all these things in this space. And that's a reason that has promoted this ecosystem of knowledge. And so as Sonic says over on Twitch, the degree itself can be relatively useless. You always end up knowing more from your personal studies. Now, I won't go so far. Like, I'm very cynical on degrees, and I always welcome the healthy debate on degrees. I do personally. This is Neil's personal opinion. This is not educated. I literally had somebody in my DMs. I had a mom in my DMs one time ask me how I could live with myself for telling people that they don't need a degree to get by in this world. I'm not telling you that you don't need a degree. I'm telling you that Neil's personal opinion on degrees is that I do agree they're useless. It is a healthy debate that we should all have onto their value. Right? So let's make sure we're getting that straight. Right? Neil's personal opinion is that they are not of value for cybersecurity roles. But with that being said, engineering degrees as a whole, I think, are amazing for teaching you critical thinking processes. I think that comp sci programs are good for teaching you critical thinking processes. But do I think you need a computer engineering degree to get into hacking embedded systems? No. When I was at Abbott, we built one of the FDA's first product security programs. Meaning we had, so I made no mistake, right? When I was at Abbott, we had a multitude of lines of business, right? We had medical devices, we had Similac, which is like the baby formula, we had Pedialyte, things like that. We had a ton of stuff. The FDA required us to do testing, and as medical devices got to be more cyber in tune, we had to hire cyber researchers to help us hack our medical devices so that we could harden our medical devices. I say all that to say, in building that program out, we didn't go look for researchers who had hardware degrees or even computer engineering degrees. We looked for researchers who had done independent research based on, get this, technology that they bought off of eBay and reverse engineered themselves, and get this, published the research and the content online. We didn't hire them through a recruiter. We didn't hire them through a hiring agency. We didn't even go to a big four to look for them. We looked for people who did independent research and published that independent research on medical device technology and reached out to them to see if they wanted to work with us. And so what I would say is, no, you don't need a computer engineering degree to get into embedded systems. Go get the technology off of eBay for $1 from somebody who's like going out of business and they need to get rid of stuff that's 20 years old and just start messing around with it. That's how most people get started in solving these problems. Listen, let's talk for a second. Let's talk for a second about innovative research. And I use those words very, very loosely. They sound really good when you pair them together, but let's talk about it. When you go to take CEH or EJPT or PNPT or OSCP or you name whatever cert it is, right? They have to choose technology, whether it's Metasploit or Kali or Responder or SQL Map or freaking whatever, right? They have to pick tools that are already out there, and then they have to try to teach you those tools in a way that allows you to use them to execute a task. They're taking known technology, known exploits, and teaching you how if it looks like this, run this, and it'll work. Now, there's a world where there are still companies that are vulnerable to 1 = 1 from a SQL injection perspective. There are still companies that are vulnerable to that. But the vast majority of companies that are vulnerable to that get smaller and smaller and smaller every year. And so if you don't learn the processes of critical thinking to a point where you can take that concept and extrapolate it out to see what the level 2 or the level 3 or the level 4 opportunities are there for that. And this is whether you take whether you take OSCE or OSWE or whatever it is, right? You still at some point in time have to extrapolate out the next level of stuff. Right? And so that's what, that's why I like to teach the critical thinking process. I like to talk about the critical thinking process because the critical thinking process is what helps you get to level 2 or level 3 or level 4 of what it is that you're trying to achieve. Whether it's hardware hacking, whether it's offensive security, whether it's being the best threat hunter, whatever the case is. In this realm of AI, I've talked about this before. Some of you are like, Neil, what, how do we get in early on AI? How do we take advantage of what AI is doing? How can we become the AI experts? And I can unequivocally tell you that if you're going to Udemy to take some course that somebody's got out there on AI, all you're doing is stuffing their pockets because they didn't do independent research. What they did was they went to YouTube, searched a whole bunch of stuff, and asked themselves, how do I repackage this into content that makes me money? Right? When you go pay for some course, all you've done is you've said, I'm willing to give you money for something that I can go out and search for on my own. Acknowledge that. I'm not saying don't pay for courses. Acknowledge what it is that you're doing and make a conscious decision to do it. Understand that's also my stance, right? My stance isn't to sit here and tell you don't go buy courses, but don't go buy courses with the expectation that you're going to learn how the magic trick works. Right? And so when it comes to things like AI, like if you were asking me this question, Neil, do I need a comp sci degree so that I can be the best at hacking AI systems? No, a comp sci degree doesn't mean that you're going to be the best at hacking AI systems. What's going to make you the best at hacking AI systems is going out there and learning how AI systems work. What does an LLM do? How does an LLM work? What does a RAG do? How does a RAG work, right? What do all these models mean? How do they operate differently? Would you need a comp sci degree to maybe understand the programming aspects of that? Maybe. You never know. You might. It's hard to tell. That's where you have to find the gaps in your knowledge. So this is that critical thinking. You go out there, you see what knowledge you natively have, you natively can obtain on your own. Once you hit a spot where you have exhausted the free resources, You've asked mentors and coaches, and they've exhausted all resources. You've reached out to industry experts to figure out their learning techniques, and you've exhausted those resources. Then maybe it's time to look and say, okay, who has content that I might need to pay for? Whether it's university or Udemy, doesn't matter, that I'm willing to give them money to tell me something that is truly a magic trick. That, my friends, is the secret to learning. You all have the capacity to do this on your own. You all have the capacity to do this on your own. Make no mistake. I don't doubt this for a second. All of you have the capacity to do this. Some jobs, yeah, I see Hyperwork says in Twitch, federal jobs often require a bachelor's degree. Absolutely. Unlike companies I've worked for, most government jobs won't make an exception, but I tell stories all the time where PwC made an exception to hire me. I don't have a 4-year degree. Abbott not only made an exception to hire me because I didn't have a 4-year degree, they also made an exception to make me deputy CISO because they said you couldn't be a CISO without a 4-year degree. Companies will make exceptions for candidates that show aptitude. All right, you can push one from Twitch if you got any, Brian. I see that TS one over on YouTube. I'll get to that one here in a little bit. Oh, my bad. I forgot we talked about that, Brian. My bad, dog. I haven't been putting any in queue. Did you put any in queue? Okay, you did. All right, awesome. Okay, yeah. We put them in queue because I was not paying attention to put them in queue. Talking to mods in my ear, guys. Sorry about that. Love my mod team. My mod team's awesome. I got it, Brian. I got it. Oh, we got to fix that. That's the old one. Damn. Okay, we'll fix that one next time. See, first year woes. We had a whole bunch of ones. What skill level people were you looking for when you couldn't handle the workload? I presume you're talking back to when I talked about I have more work than I knew what to do with. Honestly, it depends. It depends what people came to me with. So the most recent case, I had a president and COO of a company. It was a small software dev company. They were wanting somebody to basically help them with security strategy. They had done ISO 27001, and so they needed somebody to kind of help them, continue to maintain ISO 27001 and potentially get to things like SOC 2. They wanted somebody who was technical because they were a small team. This entire company was only about 12 people large. And so they wanted somebody who could be hands-on, be technical, and also understand, how to strategically build a small but agile cybersecurity program for a small software development company. And so I had to look at that profile of a company, and I had to basically go through my Rolodex of people that I knew who were doing business, on their own and working on their own, and be like, all right, who do I know that I think could help you with that problem? And that's oftentimes what I do. So like when I talk about networking, right? Networking for a job, networking is so important. I get frustrated when people belittle networking because it's not sexy, right? And I'm not talking and people, I've caught so much shit for this over the years because of the 1,000 Connect Challenge. And the 1,000 Connect Challenge isn't about going out and getting 1,000 connections. As a matter of fact, I did an entire video. There's a link for the video in chat. I think you can hit whatever it is in chat to get to that video. It talks about meaningful connections, right? Because getting your first job is hard. It is naturally hard. But everything else that you'll do in cyber is actually relatively easy, and it becomes easier the more people you know, right? And so I have a very, very large network. not just of people who follow me on all the different platforms. Like, it's not about that. I have a very, very large network of people that I can pick up this cell phone and reach out to for any given thing. And so I've built myself a reputation where it's like, if people need something, their first call is to me, because I will usually have the best link in the chain to get them an answer. And it happens daily. I have CISOs, I have CEOs, I have board members, I have advisors, I have new people in cybersecurity, I have members from this community who are close enough from a coaching perspective, a mentee perspective, a friend perspective, that they have my number that they can reach out to if they need anything. The reciprocal of that, the reciprocal for that is that they do stuff for me as well. Remember, relationships are bi-directional. I understand my value. I know you're going to want something from me. And so these same people also know that I may want something from them. And so we have a good relationship, and I've talked about this from a mentorship perspective several times. If you're not willing to go both ways, you're not really asking for a relationship, you're asking for a handout. Golden Mask, thank you so much for the 500 bits. I appreciate the useful information. I appreciate you so very much. Thank you for the 500 bits. I really do appreciate that. Remember, relationships are a two-way street. So what I mean by all that is when I couldn't find people that I was looking for, these people that I had in my Rolodex, I knew that I could pick up the phone and say, hey, listen, I know you're doing work in XYZ. I really need you to look out for this person who means something to me, because I trust you, because you've built a relationship with me, because you've provided for me and I've provided for you. I now need you to take care of this person. Right? And so that's what I would say is find a way to make yourself useful. And this is sometimes hard for people. Let's talk about this for a second. Everybody listen up. Take good notes on this. We oftentimes get confused when we talk about relationships and networking. And we talk about like, oh, I'm just going to reach out. I'm going to request to connect with Neil. Like, Neil, I'd love to be part of your network. All right. You can be part of my network. Why? What do you want? What do you want from me? I know that you want something from me. Make no mistake about it. There's information here that you want from me. That's why you're here. You consider it valuable. You consider it unique. You love the way I deliver it. You're getting what it is that you need from me. I almost made a really bad joke, but I had my mods yelling at my ear not to make the joke. In spirit. Relationships come when you provide something in return for what it is that you're getting. And it doesn't always have to come after you get the thing from the person that you're connecting with. I've had numerous people, and I talk about this ad nauseum. I've had numerous people reach out to me with first messages. First messages where it's like, hey, Neil, if I could find it, it's buried in my Twitter DMs. There was a dude for the longest time before I got diagnosed with cancer. So a couple years back, he was a personal trainer, And make no mistake about it. Listen, fun exercise. Go take a screenshot of Neil now, and go take a screenshot of Neil 2 years ago before cancer, or 4 years ago when we started streaming. I was fat. Make no mistake about it. I was a big boy. Okay? Much, much different physique than I am now. He saw this, and he knew that I was on a weight loss journey, and I was struggling. He said, "Hey, Neil, I built for you, from what I know from your streams, from what I know from talking with you in DMs on questions and things like that, from what I know that you're trying to do from a fitness journey perspective, I built you a nutrition plan and some simple exercises for you to do." Gave them to me in my DMs. It took me no time to not only thank him, but to also thank him by turning around and immediately volunteering to spend an hour a month with him, coaching and mentoring him completely for free to do that. Right? That formed a relationship where I got solutions to a problem that I knew I had, but I did not know how to solve, from somebody who had a skill set that was willing to give that over. And so this goes back to, so now I knew something about him, right? So now in that relationship, I knew where his skills lied. I knew where his expertise lied. I knew he wanted to get into cybersecurity, but he was amazing, and he was a hell of a worker. And so, yes, when I had friends who said that they wanted to also go on a weight loss journey, guess what I did? He was the first person that I pointed them to help that. That's what I mean by networking. That's what I mean by developing your relationships with people. Find things that you're good at. Doesn't have to be cyber related. Everybody has a skill. Everybody has something to offer. Build your connections, build your relationship, make yourself valuable, and people will find a place in the puzzle to put you into it. I promise you that. I promise you that. So it's a long-winded way to answer the question. Hopefully that worked for you. Neil, wonder what your thoughts are on getting all the certs. There's a guy on LinkedIn. This dude has a wall of certs. My mind is blown how that's even possible. No, that's fair. I will tell you, I was that guy. The military gave me a ton of certs. I mean, when we were building the cyber program for the Air Force, we evaluated so many certs. We evaluated everything. When we were building the cyber program, we knew that we had 8570 that we had to adhere to. There was a limited number at the time. So we were building this in 2010 to 2013. There was a limited number of companies out there that were teaching this. And so we were like Lego, we were looking at the cert industry like Lego blocks, right? Maybe a little bit of LPIC, maybe a little bit of MCSC, MCSA, right? A little bit of this, a little bit of that. We were looking at all the certs across everything, not just cyber, but IT, like everywhere. And we were trying to build cyber curriculum based on that cert pool. And so I was very, very grateful to have gotten more certifications than I could have ever dreamed for in a million years. And so, yes, when I got out of the Air Force, I was that dude who in my LinkedIn put Neil Bridges and put the multitude of certs that I had behind my name. And then I took it off. You notice it's not there now. As a matter of fact, I don't mention any certs on my name at all whatsoever. It was super weird how that mentality for me shifted. And again, this is again, I want you to take what I teach you. I want you to take what I tell you, and I want you to extrapolate it. That's the big thing that I want you to take away from this is hear my story, hear my adventures, hear my thought process, and extrapolate it for yourself. Because the answer is, what are my thoughts on it? Is it right or wrong? There's no right answer. There's no right answer. Outcast, you're so good at reading my mind. Thank you very much. I realized that by doing that, I was letting my certifications define me as a professional. And I didn't like that. It took away my identity. It took away my expertise. It took away the things that I learned that transcended post-certification. Right? Because a certification, we can all agree, whether we agree with certs or not, we can all agree that a certification tests your knowledge in a point in time and based on a narrow subset. Drop it in chat if you disagree with this. But a cert is only a point in time assessment on a narrow knowledge set. And when I looked at my professional profile, what I didn't want is for people to think that I stopped learning after the cert. And I felt like when I looked at my profile, when I looked at that long string of certs that happened after my name, it took away from me what I had learned after that cert. Right? And so I stopped doing that. I took it all off. I wanted people, I wanted to see the certs as milestones, not as defining characteristic. Right? I didn't want them to be defining characteristics. And so, do with that what you will. I don't think that there's a right or wrong answer to that, but that was very much how I felt about it. And I've never looked back. As a matter of fact, I've got my sand certs over there. You can't see it because the camera's pointing this way, but I've got my sand certs over there. I've got some Air Force medals down there. I've got my Air Force certificate of training down there. They make great decorations, but that's about as much as I acknowledge them. That's about as much as I acknowledge them. They helped me get my first job, and I will give them the credit that they're due for helping me get the job, get to the interview post-military. I will acknowledge that. But what solidified me getting my first job wasn't the cert. It was being able to perform in the interview. Right? It was being able to perform in the interview that won me the role. I saw somebody say, something about, Sonic says, I really need to revamp my LinkedIn resume again. Go to cyberinsecurity.tv. So step one, go to cyberinsecurity.tv. I think we've got a link for that, right? There it is. Yeah, it's resume. There it is. Yeah, I beat you to it. Ha! Go to cyberinsecurity.tv. We put up a resume rubric. And I want to give, again, a huge shout out. Doc Jade, Angry Amoeba are the code writers behind this. Give a huge shout out to Rachel at SkillDev for making the website what it is today. But we've revamped the resume rubric. You can self-assess. It's called Resume Rubric, but it is also your LinkedIn. There is a LinkedIn planner in there as well. Go there and self-assess based on my grading criteria that I still believe holds true today for resumes and LinkedIns. Right? You can also go to, we have an entire career advice section of YouTube videos on the YouTube channel, which include resume roast, live resume roast of real community members' resumes. There are so many free resources that we provide here on this channel. So many free resources to help you with your resume and your LinkedIn so that you can make them look as sharp as humanly possible. Okay? And so if you're feeling like you need to revamp one or both, we've tried to make it super easy for you. Please go take a look at those as we think about how we're going to strategize and execute on some resume reviews moving forward. There was a LinkedIn question that I want to push out. Shannon over on LinkedIn says, a question for later. What path would you recommend a newbie in this field to take that gets educated, skilled in pen testing, like the equivalent of Couch to 10K? So for those who don't know, Couch to 10K is like an app on your phone or a program that says like, oh, I want to run a 10K. What are the steps that I need to do? You start with like walking 30 seconds, jogging 1 minute, walking 30 seconds, jogging 1 minute for like a mile, right? Fantastic program for helping you to do a 10K. I don't know that there is a good program like that, because pen testing is weird, right? I think, again, I try very hard not to endorse specific certifications, and I do that intentionally, right? But I do think that you should, if you're looking to pen test, networking and basic programming, I think are awesome. I think those two things are great roadmaps. I think those are very, very clear foundational knowledge points that I think are super important. Our I&E course is still great. My employer is paying for the subscription. Oof. Again, I try not to make it a point to character assassinate too many companies. My mama taught me that if I didn't have anything nice to say, not to say anything nice at all. I try to teach you guys a lot of critical thinking. And in a world where somebody like myself can go anywhere and do anything, I chose to go to I&E. I gave it a year of my life, and then I chose to leave. If you were to apply your critical thinking thought processes to it, use that to make your decision. I think that's a great way to leave that question. I appreciate the question. I really do. Right? I really do. Esther over on LinkedIn says, great to have come across this stream. I need to have a chance to attend more this year. Absolutely. There will be a ton of chances to attend more this year. I think that's a great segue to kind of talk about some of the stuff that we've got lined up this year. Again, huge shout out. We're going to talk a little bit about this, about the stream stuff coming up, and then we'll get into goals planning. We've got most of the people here that we expect to be here, so we'll talk about goals planning here in a second. So again, make sure you've got that notepad ready, physical or digital. We're going to talk a little bit about goals planning. We still got more questions. Keep the questions coming in. BeardSec will continue to grab them, add them to the queue, and we will continue to answer them throughout the stream. Huge shout out, as always, to Jens Panzertank. He's been a huge help. Hopefully you saw the post that went out yesterday, formalizing a stream schedule. We will, we've had some touch or go moments. I've shared some of this on stream. It's been touch or go over the last 2-ish or so years with the cancer journey and everything else like that. I shared some more personal stuff with the mod team a couple weeks back about some personal struggles that I've had juggling everything with the stream. But I can unequivocally say, without a doubt, you've seen us since May slowly ramp up and get back into normal, right? Where we were pre-cancer. And I'm feeling pretty good about that. I'm feeling pretty good. I've got tons of energy. I'm not getting treatment anymore. So I'm not chronically tired all the time. I'm fit. I'm losing weight in a good way. I'm in the gym frequently. Golf is going very, very well. I just saw my coach yesterday. And so, we did some dry runs. You can pretty much kind of look at from May of last year until December as the team dry running what it would take for us to get back to a sense of normal when it comes to streaming. And so my commitment to you this year, and I'll get into this in the goal planning, is that welcome back to constant cyber insecurity streams. Now, what does that mean? I still have a job and I still have to travel. There's nothing I can do about that, right? There will be travel that'll come up. I can't affect travel, but travel is travel, right? But with that being said, if there is an opportunity for us to stream, we will be streaming. And what I also mean by that is I mean the return of thematic content, right? One of the things that you remember before, thank you so very much, Orc the Borker for the subscribed with Prime. I appreciate that. We had a lot of thematic stuff before. It was less kind of hectic. My commitment to you is the return of thematic content. So case in point, we're partnering with Jason at BitLift. We had him on a year ago. He was an amazing person. We had Noah, who runs his security operations team. We had him on a couple months back on Sec Data Ops talking about how to run a security operations team. We've partnered with them to bring you threat briefs on a bi-monthly basis. Right? Those are going to be starting here relatively soon. We're in the process of finalizing a partnership with a GRC company so that we can also bring our GRC folks GRC content as well. Both of those are new shows that are going to be coming in 2025. Very, very excited for both of those because one of the things that we want to do is we want to try to cover the range of this, right? We want to try to cover the range of technical content to non-technical content with all of the spaces in between as much as possible. And so be on the lookout for those as well. Give us feedback. That is the most important thing. Anytime we have new shows, anytime we have new content, I need your feedback. Make sure you're in Discord. There is a community feedback in there. Everybody on the mod team, to myself, to my wife, Carmen, you may not see her in chat as much anymore, but she is actively involved. We all look at it. And so please, please, please provide your feedback in Discord, good, bad, or ugly. We do not care. You're not get banned. This isn't X. We're not going to ban you if you criticize us. We look for opportunities to improve. So we do have those two new shows, and I'm super excited for those two new shows to be coming out. We will continue with Tea with a Hacker. The only times that Tea with a Hacker will get canceled is if I travel. That's it. If I'm traveling, that's the only time Tea with a Hacker will get canceled. I'm working with Maz. Maz is helping me try to figure out what a mobile stream scenario will look like. Part of that will come to fruition in February. I'm going to be in DC in February. So mark it on your calendar. I will be in DC in February. We don't have a bot command for this yet. I don't know if Maz is awake yet or not or in chat. But I will be speaking at a cybersecurity risk summit. We'll get a bot command for this because I've got a discount code if you're in the DC area to attend that conference. Great opportunity to hear me speak. Number one, I'm going to be doing something different that's outside my comfort zone, which is awesome. You know me, I love doing stuff that's outside my comfort zone. I'm going to be doing a debate about AI and cybersecurity. So it's going to be a debate format, me and another CISO about AI and cybersecurity. Maz is helping me work around some of the logistics on site so that we can stream some form of that content while we're on site. All right. So that'll be something that I'm super excited for in DC in February. I think that's the 10th, but again, I don't have a bot command up for that. We'll have to take a look at that. Okay. With that being said, we have a ton of awesome guests that are lined up for a multitude of shows already in the first 2 months. I don't have a bot command for this. Did I? I just got this. Okay, good. January 29th on Old Guy Wednesday, Chris Pogue, who is a guy I've known for a long time. I got reintroduced to him. I'll drop the link for him, or one of the mods can drop the link for him in chat. One of the things that has been constantly requested by the community that took me a while to really find somebody that I trust is digital forensics and incident response, mostly the digital forensics side. I got reintroduced to Chris a couple months ago, and we've been chatting, and we locked down Chris to come do a digital forensics explicit stream. We're going to talk about all sorts of digital forensics related stuff. Everything from memory scraping, criminal response, testifying on stand. We're going to talk about tons of incident response cases that he's worked. So a great opportunity to hear from an expert. And so you can look at the Old Guy Wednesdays, not just from a banter perspective from Jeff and I, but that's where we're really going to try to bring in a lot of these very, very seasoned guests to come in and share their knowledge with you. So that's what you can kind of come to expect from a lot of the Old Guy Wednesdays. Of course, we're going to continue with Sec Data Ops. Next Thursday is going to be our first Sec Data Ops of the year. I've got Matt Eberhardt, the Query CEO. I've just really enjoyed working with Matt. Him and I have worked really, really well together over the last, it's been 2 years that we've been working together at Query. I'm going to invite him on, and we're going to do a little bit of a take on this 2025 prediction stuff. I'm staying away from the traditional 2025 prediction stuff. And so him and I are going to do a different take on the 2025 predictions, a little bit of a 2024 look back. And we're going to see what we can do from a predictions perspective. So next week's Sec Data Ops will be our 2025 prediction one. And then 2 weeks after that, I've got another CISO who's going to come on Sec Data Ops to talk about building security operations teams as well. And then, of course, we've got, Maz is helping me line up guests. Maz is working with me closely to help, reach out and solidify some guests. He's been a huge help in terms of that. And so we're constantly out there continuously looking for guests to be on stream. So I say all that to say, in that community feedback, if there are people you would like for the team to reach out to have me interview, to put in the hot seat, we welcome those suggestions as well in that feedback. That's one of the feedbacks that we want from you. If there's somebody that you'd like to see, if there's a skill set you would like to see, look at it Reddit style. If we see, I saw Duke Norris say any purple teamers. If you put purple teamers in community feedback and it gets 1,000 hearts, we know that there's a lot of people that would love that content. Like, that's how you can stay involved and drive the direction of the content via Discord interaction. So make sure you're in that Discord. Make sure you're interacting. Yeah, Jamie, the different one I'm really, really looking forward to. We've had a lot of incident responders on, but somebody who's done a ton of digital forensics, I'm super excited to have somebody do a ton of digital forensics content. I'm checking my notes. I'm checking my notes that I wrote down because I got a lot of this. I don't want to telegraph some cyber secrets yet, but I want to talk about content in one way, shape, or form. I constantly struggle with people who try to copy content. I don't want to be accused of copying other creators' content. My mod team will tell you this. It's a constant conversation we have. And so I spend a lot of time trying to think about the unique differences and the unique perspectives and the unique experiences that I have that translate very, very well into consistent content. And so my promise to you, and I'm looking at my notes, is that the content we're going to bring to you is content that not just me, but the team has looked at, has vetted from a quality perspective, and matches something that we think is unique enough that it provides my 25 plus years of cybersecurity, 10 plus years of military, training, offensive and defensive cyber, building security teams, and leveraging a lot of that to bring experts to you that we think are going to constantly provide you with value. That's my promise to you. And so I've got some other content ideas that we're going to work through that I think are going to be super exciting for you. And I appreciate all your support and continue to stay awesome on that as well. This is a quick reminder. This is a great opportunity to hit those exclamation point socials. Make sure you're following all the social media. Make sure you got that bell turned on so you get notified when anything changes. All right, enough of that. Let's talk about goal planning. A little longer yapping than I meant to. I meant for me to only yap for about an hour before we talked about goal planning. You know me, it gets Friday, I get super, super carried away. So let's talk a little bit about goal planning. We do this every year. Goal planning is ridiculously important. I was in a back and forth on Twitter with somebody who was, and I shared an image with them, and I'm looking on my phone to bring that image back up because I think that image is super, super important for this conversation of goal planning, right? So I'm gonna read this out loud, but I'll post this to Twitter and Blue Sky today, so you can see it. You can see the image on Blue Sky today. But listen to this very carefully, okay? A goal without a deadline is a fantasy. A goal plus a deadline is an objective. A goal plus a deadline plus a plan is intention. A goal plus a deadline plus a plan plus consistent action equals success. And here's where we get to it. Meaningful goals with a deadline and a plan and consistent action is fulfillment. And I'll post this image to Twitter and Blue Sky later today so that you have it. But that's the mantra that I want you to go into this goal planning conversation with as we talk about it. Meaningful goal plus deadline plus plan plus constant action equals fulfillment. Right? So the reason that I bring this up is really, it's honestly for the first one. Right? It's really honestly for this first one. Most of you, and this is harsh, Neil. I'm going to come at you hard. Prepare yourself. Most of you fall into number one. A goal without a deadline is fantasy. I'll let that sting for a minute for some of you. A goal without a deadline is fantasy. You don't really want it. You just like dreaming about it. Right? I would argue that most of the people that I talk to, most of the people that I coach, oftentimes fall into that number one, a goal without a deadline. And so that's kind of like when we talk about goal planning, goals need to have a deadline. Goals need to have a deadline. So with that being said, let's talk about one of the other key fundamentals. I talk about it every year, but I'll talk about it again this year to remind people. When you're doing goal setting, I want you to remember the SMART acronym. S-M-A-R-T. S-M-A-R-T, the SMART acronym. The SMART acronym stands for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. And I'll talk about all five of those. We'll do a little bit of an education session where we talk about all five of those here in a second. right? This should be the framework you use when defining your goals. And so if we look at this framework, look at that last one, that T, right? Time bound. And that gets into that second one. Goal plus a deadline is an objective, right? Time is super important. Most people get into a habit, and let's talk about this for a second. I want to go, like I saw somebody say, like, this hurts. I fantasize about getting certs and learning more all the time. Okay, but do you have a time bound associated with it? No, okay? That's the problem. You can talk about, I fantasize about getting OSCP. When? Well, when I feel like I'm ready. You don't have a plan, you have a fantasy. This is where having that SMART acronym in that goal helps you to get to that time-bound parameter to make it an objective. Okay? So let's go through this really quickly. This is opportunity for those who are on YouTube and Twitch to get familiar with the clipping options. Clip these out, share them with your network on LinkedIn, on X, whatever your platform is, save them for yourself. YouTube and Twitch gives you the opportunities for you to have these so you can constantly refer to this lesson. So let's go through the SMART acronym really fast. Specific is the S. The very first S in SMART is specific. When we talk about specificity of a goal, it needs to be simple, sensible, and significant. All right, we'll use some S's. We'll use a little bit of that harmonious sound to kind of go with it, right? The specific goal needs to be simple. I want to get OSCP. That's pretty simple. That's pretty sensible. Thousands and thousands of people have gotten OSCP. And it's pretty significant potentially for you or your career. So I want to get OSCP. That is very, very specific. You want to make sure that you have specific goals. What do we mean by a non-specific goal? I want to be the best pen tester. You don't know how many times I hear that one. That is not a specific goal. It may sound specific, but that is not a specific goal. Thank you, Josh. I appreciate that. If you can't define very specific things, it's not specific enough. Being the best pen tester is not specific. Specificity also doesn't have to be large. Let's harp on that really quickly as well. It can be, listen, if you're beard sack, specific may be, did I have my coffee this morning? That may be the specific goal that he needs to make sure that he is not an asshole during the day. Love you, boo. Right? So you don't have to think specificity in the large scope of life. Think specificity in relative chunks. I'll give you an example of one of mine. And of course, I'm going to use a golf analogy, right? My specificity for one of my golf goals is to be able to chip into a hula hoop 10 out of 10 times. Right? That's very specific. I want to be able to chip into a hula hoop 10 out of 10 times. Very specific goal. Right? Be specific. Keep it simple. The kiss analogy is super important in the specific one. Keep it simple. Someone. I couldn't think of a non-toxic word to use for that. Keep it simple, right? Keep it simple. Let's go to M for in the SMART acronym. M is measurable. Now, it may sound intuitive what measurable means. We want measurable to be meaningful and motivating. One of the things that I see people forgetting when they talk about measuring their goals is that the measurement needs to be motivating. You need to be able to look at that and be like, I did it. Right? I'll give you an example of that. I had a goal this last year of winning 2 tournaments. When I won the first one, I was very excited. I was super excited. And all I could think about was, what do I need to do to win the second one? And I grinded and worked. And when I won the second one of the year, I felt like I was Tiger walking off the 18th green of the Masters. Like I was just like, I was super excited about winning the second tournament. And it's not like it was a Masters equivalent event. It's not like I won $1 million or anything like that. But it was a motivating goal that when I got it, I felt this rush of achievement. Right? And so when you define measurable as part of your goal planning, define measurable so that it's meaningful and it's motivating. If it doesn't excite you, it's not measurable. Let me say that explicitly. If the goal doesn't excite you, if the measurable point of that goal doesn't excite you, it's not measurable. Find the measurable piece of this. You can't measure, I'm going to learn everything there is about pen testing. It is unmeasurable. It is unmeasurable. Okay? The A stands for achievable. When we talk about achievable goals, they have to be attainable. A goal that says, I'm going to be the best pen tester in the entire world is not achievable. It does, such a ambition and goal does not exist. That is not an achievable goal. I will not become the best golfer in the entire world. That is not achievable. It's great to be able to say that, to try to use that to drive you, but you have to be realistic and the goal has to be achievable. Right? You have to define a bar that you're willing to reach. I will never be better than Tiger. And it's not about making excuses. It's not about saying, well, I'm never going to be better than Tiger because I'm 45 years old. I'm getting started later at life. I didn't have his luck. I didn't have his upbringing, yada, yada. It's not about making excuses. It's being realistic with yourself. I'm realistic that I'm 45 years old, that I'm getting started later in life. He's been doing it since he was, old enough to hold a golf club. It's been sewn into every fabric of his being. I'm just being realistic. But what I can be is achievable, and my achievable goal is getting a PGA Tour, a PGA Champions Tour card. Right? That is achievable. You have to be able to, it has to be attainable. The R, right, for smart is relevant. It has to be relevant. What do we mean by relevant? It's got to be results-based. Right? It's got to be a results-based goal. Right? You have to be able to execute something and get something on the other side of it. Right? Something specific, measurable, and achievable. And that stuff has to be reasonable and realistic to your overall goal. Right? When we talk about relevant, we're talking about the actions that it takes to get to your goal. I have a goal of getting a PGA Champions Tour card at 49.5. My relevant goals that lead up to that need to include things that are going to help me achieve that goal. And so I'm not going to go be a master of putt-putt because learning how to hit through the windmill isn't going to make me a better putter. Right? So I'm not going to waste time doing that because it's not relevant to my goal. This is one of the other hard parts that I think a lot of folks struggle with when doing goal setting. They can't objectively look at the things that they're trying to do and ask themselves in a realistic fashion, is this relevant to my goals? And it's hard to do that. It's super hard to do that because it means that you have to say no to yourself. You have to. So I'll be vulnerable for a second. Make no mistake about it. World of Warcraft has been part of my life since it came out in 2004, 2005, whenever it was that it came out. I've played every expansion. I've been a top tier raider. I've been a 2K plus arena player. I have grinded more hours than I can count to World of Warcraft. I see the laughing emojis. I don't mind that. I don't mind that whatsoever. Right? It may sound weird, but try to put yourself in my position for just a second. I've basically been addicted to a video game for 20 plus years. When I needed to achieve my goals for golf, I had to look at the things that I wanted to do. Oh, you know what? I'm just going to log on and I'm going to start the new arena season. And I had to ask myself, was this relevant? Was the goal of being a part of the new arena season a relevant part of my goal to get to the PGA Champions Tour? I haven't played WoW in over a year. I don't even have the desktop here on my battle station anymore to play WoW. Because I've had to make a tough decision with myself to cut off an addiction that wasn't relevant to my goals. So you have to be hard on yourself and ask yourself, is what it is you're trying to do relevant? The last one, T, we've talked a little bit about this, is time bound, right? Your goal has to be time bound. Remember, when we talk about goals, we talk about big goals and little goals. I have a big goal. My big goal is to get a PGA Champion Tour card. The time bound on that is 49 and a half. So 4.5 years. Right? I have 4.5 years for that goal. Now I've taken that goal and I've broken that goal up into smaller goals. We talked a little bit about this last year. My last year's goal was to win 2 tournaments. I won 4. Right? My last year goal was to hit more fairways. I did. My last year's goal was to get into the state championship. I missed that goal. That's okay. But every single one of those goals had a time-bound element to it. And it gets back to what we talked about before in that image that I'm going to put up on social media, is that if you don't have a deadline, you don't have an objective. Right? So SMART, S-M-A-R-T, specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. And so I have homework for everybody. Hopefully you got a lot out of that. I have homework for everybody. Get in Discord. One of the unknown channels that we have in Discord is a goals channel. So here is your homework, because the other thing that we don't talk about with goals is public accountability. The reason that I tell you all my goals, I very much want you to keep me accountable to them. I very much want you to keep me accountable to them. I want you in my DMs. Hey, Neil, did you win that tournament this weekend? Why not? Absolutely keep me accountable to that. right? And so what I challenge everybody to do is to first identify some goals. And let's start small. Let's do goals for January, right? And then I want you to identify some goals for January. I want you to use this SMART technique, and I want you to publicly acknowledge what your goals are for January in the goals channel on Discord. And ask the community to help you be accountable, right? Be accountable for your goals. We had a lot of success for this several years ago. We actually did a stream on this a lot of times. It was super awesome. I want to bring this back. I thought it was super important. This is one of the things I'm super passionate about. I'm super passionate about goals planning. I'm super passionate about you all achieving your goals in cyber or life or whatever the case is. And so please take this opportunity to be part of the community, to be part of goals planning. Put yourself out there. I see your imposter syndrome. This is a fantastic way for you to step into defeating that imposter syndrome. Right? Please take advantage of this. I look forward to seeing some of your goals in Discord, and we will bring this back up next time. Hey, Neil, why did you not win the last tournament? How did you want to be better next time? No, thank you very much for that. I really appreciate it. I absolutely tanked on the last tournament that I played. It was, I think it was Thanksgiving weekend. It was the Myrtle Beach Classic. And I was really disappointed in that because it was at TPC Myrtle Beach. I played TPC Myrtle Beach pretty frequently. As a matter of fact, I had one of my best scores recorded at TPC Myrtle Beach. And so I did walk into that one what I felt was very prepared. I'd prepared a lot walking into it. I had literally practiced on the driving range the night before. I'd done a lot of practice shots, different clubs, different shot shapes, different distances, things like that. I felt super prepared walking into it. As a matter of fact, and I don't know if I mentioned this before, but it was the first time where there was a gallery on the first tee. And so I walked up to the first tee. They announced me in front of the gallery, and teeing off for I think it was the 8:45 tee time from Raleigh, North Carolina, Neil Bridges, blah, 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 yay, woo. And so there was a gallery of people clapping as I teed off. And I hit an amazing tee shot, middle of the fairway, left me a nice soft gap wedge into the green. I couldn't have asked for a better tee off in front of a gallery for one of my first tournaments of the Amateur Players Tour. Unfortunately, I was riddled with a combination of errors and poor decisions in course management to capitalize on those errors. One of the things that I suffer from, and I know this about myself, one of the things that I suffer from is an idea that I have to try harder to make up for lost time, if that makes sense. So I'll hit a shot. It will be in not an ideal position. And my brain immediately goes to, I know I'm the one who can hit this hero shot and still make par or birdie. And that's not the right mentality to have in golf. That's not the right course management to have in golf. It's something my coach and I work constantly on, is minimizing those mistakes. One of the key things about golf, one of the key things to be a good golfer isn't to make more birdies. The key thing to be good at golf is to make less bogeys and make less double bogeys. And unfortunately, my last tournament was lost because I didn't make smart decisions on the risk that I took on the golf course. right? I didn't make the right risk decisions. Golf is a game of misses. I have it on my golf bag. I'll take a picture on Instagram, put up on Instagram my golf bag. I have that quote on my golf bag to remind myself that golf is a game of mistakes. And my struggle right now, my learning right now, in addition to continuing to fine-tune my swing, is risk management. This is why, like, I've talked ad nauseum about golf and cyber being very, very relatable to me, right? Because there's very much a risk management aspect to golf. I'll give you an example, right? If you imagine like a C-shaped hole, right, with water in the center. You see the tour players all the time carry that long span of water and get themselves into a great spot for their second shot. That's because they're tour players. Yes, that's where I need to aspire to get to, but I'm not there yet. And so acknowledging, so again, this gets back to some of you when you talk about goal planning and things like that, acknowledging what you're capable of, acknowledging what your skill is currently at, and playing to that skill so that you can win tournaments is key. So instead of taking that big C and trying to carry 350 yards like Rory McIlroy, I need to be okay taking the safe route where there's no water involved. And maybe I leave myself a really long second shot. And if I leave myself a really long second shot, I don't aim right at the pin and risk pulling it into the water. I aim to the right so that if I miss, it still lands on dry land. And I walk out of there with a really hard-fought par or at worst a bogey. And so my game right now is mentally focused on risk management and how do I make the smartest course management decisions to win tournaments. And so when you ask me about my SMART goal for golf, my SMART goal is to reduce the number of bogeys and double bogeys per round that I have by half. Right? I want to have less than 4 or 5 bogeys and double bogeys per round by the end of the year. That is my specific, measurable, actionable, relevant, time-bound goal. One of them for golf. That, Crypto, thank you very much for asking that. Why I didn't win the last tournament and what I plan on doing to get better about it this year. Awesome stuff. I love it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that. We'll answer a few more questions. Last call for questions. Get your questions in chat if you need me to answer them. We'll run through a few. Make sure you, like I said, I can't stress this enough. Please take this opportunity to leverage the power of this community to outline your goals in the goals channel in Discord and leverage the power of the community to help keep you accountable. Let's start small. We can keep it to just January. Keep it to just this week or next week if you really, really want to. Spend some time in sub chat or in voice chat tonight. Talk about your goals. Make them a part of who you are. Great question from Duke Norris. So with that, how do I stay on track if I get behind? Great question. Time bounding your goals doesn't mean that if you miss a deadline, your goal is worthless, right? How crazy would it be if I said, well, you know what? I didn't win the state championship this last year. I'm not doing that goal. I missed that goal. It was time bound. I only had one opportunity to do it and I missed it. I'm never going to try it again. Right? The time bound, like if you miss the time that you set for yourself from a time bound goal, you should ask yourself, were you realistic with that time expectation? Were you realistic with everything you had going on? Were you realistic with the difficulty of the goal that you set for yourself? I can tell you, looking back, I was not realistic with the difficulty of winning state championship. The reason I missed that goal in retrospect was because my goal was not realistic for the time bound that I'd set for myself. The field, there ended up being 60 some odd people in the field. I was in a division that made my competition more competitive, more difficult, more challenging than I had originally thought it would be. And I had not practiced enough under that type of stress to hit the shots that I needed to hit to be successful. And so I was not realistic with the time bound that I set myself. And so if you miss a deadline, go back and look at that and ask yourself, did I get behind? Did I overwhelm myself? Did I have too many tasks? Was I not focused on the right goal? Was the goal harder than it needed to be? Was it harder than I anticipated it being? Did I give myself the right resources? All these things are things you should be asking yourself so that you can reset your own expectation. Great question. What do you think about DevOps as a career? I think it's an awesome career. I think developers are the bread and butter, in a lot of ways of technology applications. I think there's tons of career opportunities in DevOps. Go out and do something awesome. Jack 44 Frost says, right now I'm a CSA and about to finish my bachelor's in cybersecurity. I have a Google Cyber Cert and Sec Plus. My two questions would be, what is your ideas for the next steps on how to dive deeper into the cyber field, cloud security, and how important is networking for the cyber field? Networking is, like, if I were to think about the thing that everybody should have, from GRC to SOC analyst, is a fundamental understanding of networking. And let me not get some people jaded, right? A GRC analyst does not need to know how to do IP address subnet masking. That's not what I'm saying when I say networking. But you should understand at a fundamental institutional level what the difference is between a layer 2 switch and a layer 3 router. Right? Why are those different? I'm not saying that you have to understand the ins and outs of the data link layer and that you have to understand the ins and outs of IP addressing, but I do think that you should fundamentally understand the difference of fundamental networking technologies and fundamental networking concepts. Those things translate very, very well to a lot of things in cyber, especially cloud security. I'll give you an example. If you're a GRC analyst, you're probably doing audits, right? You're probably doing policies. Let's take the audit route for a second. Let's say that you happen to work for a fintech company, and so you at least have to notionally be aware that you've got some PCI environments to deal with. Let's say that you deal with a QSA for your audits. And a QSA comes in and makes some outrageous claim that the way that your network is architected doesn't create the appropriate separation. If you don't understand at a fundamental level what creates network separation, I'm not saying you have to be in depth, but if you don't understand how networks get separated logically or physically, then you're remanded to go talk to the IT team, which isn't bad. I'm not saying that like, oh my God, you shouldn't go talk to the IT team. But what if you had an opportunity to be knowledgeable enough to where you could redirect an auditor without having to waste a ton of time for the IT team to answer a question that you are quite capable of answering on your own that isn't overly technical and it isn't overly out of your wheelhouse? Hey, you clearly don't understand what a DMZ is. Here's what a DMZ is. Here's how a DMZ works. Here's how we're isolating these networks. Here's, my basic understanding of ACLs indicate that our ACL is set up to only allow this type of network traffic in and no type of network traffic out. That's it. That's it. You don't have to understand how to write an ACL. You don't have to understand the different subnet components of an ACL rule. But you know enough notionally about how networks work that you can help that audit process. So when I talk about non-technical folks understanding just the surface level of a little bit of technicality, it's not to make you technical. It's to take you from level one of your job. When we talk about, AI taking your jobs or things like that, an AI can take a response from an auditor and craft a ticket and send it to IT to ask them if this network is isolated. But what if you were smart enough to have that conversation with that auditor that AI can't have and explain your network architecture in a way that confirms to that auditor that you are indeed segmented? And so, for next steps, if you're looking, you got the Google Cyber Cert, you got Sec Plus, good job. Should you do some networking? Absolutely, hands down. Please take some network, especially if you're going to do cloud security. Net Plus CCNA. Again, I'm not going to opine on which cert I think is best or things like that. But if you're talking specifically about cloud cert, why aren't you at AZ? Why aren't you looking at AZ 400 or whatever AWS's cloud practitioner cert is, right? If you're specifically talking cloud, go towards those cloud-specific certs, right? Go to those cloud-specific certs. Cute name. First one to die. I remember that sounds like every, COD experience I have. Awesome to have you stream. Thank you very much. Thanks for your amazing advice. After 20 years of combined IT and IS management, experiencing extreme burnout and wanting to pivot into AppSec for some time, always love development. How might going back to an IC role or more technical role be perceived by employers? I think that there's, it's not unfair to see somebody who has spent some time in management want to go back to technical. And actually what I'd be willing to say is the primary concern we have with folks going from management back into technical, and I'll tell you this 100%. We worry about being able to pay you at the band that you need or expect because you were a management versus a more tactical or operational role. That's just being fair with you. Right? That's just me being fair with you. And if as a manager you were making $150,000 and that's what you had come to expect and built your lifestyle on, and you wanted to go back to an individual contributor role that was making $100,000, our biggest fear in looking at you is that we'll waste a ton of time interviewing only for you to say, well, I want to be an individual contributor, but I want to make $150,000. That's a no-go. That's a non-starter. Right? It doesn't matter how much experience you have. That's a non-starter. Right? Because, and I've talked about corporate pay bands before, right? They're set by HR. There's a ton of research that goes into them. Like it or not, there is an entire process that goes about setting corporate pay bands. The golden handcuffs, exactly. Right? And so your first conversation, first one to die, honestly, is with yourself to ask yourself, are you willing to take a pay cut to go from management back to an individual contributor? Right? Because if the answer is no, congratulations, wear your golden handcuffs with pride and move forward. Figure out how to deal with your burnout, right? Because if you're not willing to sacrifice your pay, you don't want it bad enough. I hate to say it. The golden handcuffs conversation is very, very real. Everybody needs to come to grip with this conversation. Everybody will be in this at some point in time. You'll make a lot of money, but you'll have a shitty job, or you'll have a shitty boss, or you'll be burnt out. And you'll want a new job, but you still want all the perks. You still want to make the big bucks. Good luck, especially in today's job economy. Especially in today's job economy, right? And so I would be upfront with whomever you talk to that you understand what you're asking for and you're willing to take a pay cut in the reasonable pay bands that are needed. Put that one in queue, or actually, just pull it up from here. I love it. I love it when my mods even ask me questions. Thank you very much for that follow-on, Beardsec. I really do appreciate that. Right? Beardsec asked a very relevant question. So what do you do if it's less of a choice and you have to support your family based on your income? Taking less pay may not be a feasible option. 1,000%. Right? Great question. Life comes at you hard. Life comes at you super hard, right? There's forced pay cuts, right? Let's talk about forced pay cuts. You get laid off from a job. You're unemployed for a year because in this economy, it sucks right now, right? You're laid off for a year and you're starting to run out of money to support your current lifestyle, right? You get offered a job that's 15% less than what you were making when you got laid off. You have to support your family. That should be the number one thing on your mind, is supporting your family. When you think about the will to survive, if you're not willing to make sacrifices to make sure that your family is taken care of, first and foremost, I would argue you don't have your priorities straight. That's just Neil being honest with you. That's just Neil being real with you. Right? Make no mistake about it. My wife and I have a disaster recovery plan effectively. Right? I'm very blessed, very grateful. I count my lucky stars every day. We have a very beautiful house. My wife and I do very well. That's not a brag or a flex. I just acknowledge that we've done very, very well in our life. We have a disaster recovery plan that if query goes to zero and I'm back out on the street tomorrow, there isn't a thing in this house that we wouldn't sell N+1 to make sure that our bills were paid and our family was taken care of. There isn't a thing in this house that is more important to hold on to make sure that we're taken care of. We would sell this entire house in a heartbeat and go live in a one-bedroom studio to make sure that we could survive. And so with that being said, if you've not thought about the things that you're willing to sacrifice to make sure that your family is supported, then you've not done the proper risk management. Right? And so I say all that to say, back to the question before, if you're in a job and you're kind of burnt out, or you're having to work really, really hard and you wish that you could be like one of these people who just like hangs out and does nothing and blah, 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 blah. You know, are you really willing to take a pay cut? Probably not. Probably not. Right? But if you really are burnt out and your mental health is starting to suffer and it's starting to affect your relationship with your parents, and it's parents, your kids, with your wife, your husband, whatever the case is, you're starting to have physical symptoms as a result of it, then maybe you need to reevaluate if you pushed yourself past a point and the job isn't the only thing that you need to sacrifice to get some of the things that are more important to your family life back into center. But if you want all the benefits of getting great pay, you just don't want to be stressed out as much, you just need a different job, or you just need to learn how to deal with your burnout, right? Beard says it spot on, right? And you know, no job is worth losing your life and your family over. So when we talk about burnout, like, listen, make no mistake about it. Right? Make no mistake about it. Like, query's hard. Like, being in a startup is hard. I am burnt out frequently. I was so grateful to be able to take these 2 weeks off from query to get my head straight, right? But from a risk management perspective, I accepted that risk, and it's my responsibility. It's my responsibility to manage that burnout and that impact to my family. It's my responsibility. And whether that means I take more vacations, whether that means I communicate with management, whether that means I leave the job and go find one that does accommodate me, that's my responsibility. It's not your employer's responsibility or anything else. Right? It's not your employer's responsibility to manage your burnout. The most important thing is to be happy. It is. JC over on LinkedIn says, love this format. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. All right. I think that's a good one to end on. Cyber Guy on YouTube says, do you see GRC jobs needs growing in 2025? I always see GRC jobs growing in any day and era. Everybody, happy Friday. Happy 2025 to you. I am so grateful to call you all my friends. So grateful to have you in the community. Make sure you hop into Discord. Make sure you participate in the goals challenge that I laid forward. I look forward to seeing all your goals in Discord. I look forward to talking about goals frequently. Make sure you tune into those socials. Have those notifications turned on. Be on the lookout on Twitter for that post that I told you about. We'll make sure that's up on Twitter and Blue Sky. With that being said, Happy New Year. Stay awesome. And whether you're on the red side or the blue side or still deciding, keep learning, and we'll see you next stream.
Want it, better go and get it. They don't want to work, but they want the credit. Could've done more, but they won't admit it. I want the Porsche, not a Honda Civic. Took my mind to another level. I got it all, but I never settle. Could've lived with a day job, but my gut told me I'm something special. Drop top, pull out the foreign. I be whipping on the fast lane. Engine be roaring. I